I want this monitor to be really good because I do actually play games at over 500 frames per second and I want to see all of those frames, but I have reviewed a 500Hz monitor previously and it was disappointing. The response times are pretty average and the image was really soft. But this one is different. But before I tell you how unique this monitor is, I'm actually going to tell you all the bad stuff first. So it's only 1080p, it's only 24 inches, it has a TN panel in 2023, it has an extremely goofy stand, and it is very expensive. Now that that's all out of the way, let me show you something really cool. So there are a lot of 360Hz monitors out there today, and I think we'd all agree the jump from 240Hz to 360 is a small one. The jump from 360Hz to 540Hz is also not as massive as it sounds, but now you have a huge difference between 240 and 540Hz. It's over a doubling in the amount of frames, and the boost in overall smoothness is just insane. I've never said that about any 360Hz monitor, but 540 really kicks it into a different gear. And I know we're looking at super slow motion footage here, but I felt this difference as soon as I turned this thing on. 540Hz, it is one of the craziest things I've ever seen on a monitor. And it's this one here, the Asus PG248QP. Very weird model name as usual, and yeah, the specs for the most part are pretty mediocre. 1080p TN in 2023 does not sound very good on paper at all. I will say though, for being a TN panel, this thing actually looks pretty good, like surprisingly good. If you're familiar with Zowie monitors, which also use TN panels, and they all look pretty similar, this thing is in a different league entirely. The amount of contrast that you have here, and the amount of colors that this panel can display, honestly puts the TN Zowies to shame. And this thing actually has a DCI-P3 rating of almost 90%, which is just unheard of for a TN panel. What that means is that when you start cranking up the vibrance and the saturation in game, you're not going to get that like really bad color banding and blobbing, which you do see on the Zowies and other TN monitors. In fact, this actually looks better, ironically, than the 500Hz Alienware, despite that using an IPS panel. The colors on that thing are dull and very lifeless. This thing is very contrasty, pretty punchy. The only thing that's bad is the viewing angles, but I mean, come on, we're all playing on a monitor viewing straight on. The reason for it being TN in the first place though are the response times. At a refresh rate of 500Hz, you're getting 1 frame every 2 milliseconds, and that means that the pixels need to have a response time faster than that number. If they don't, then you get ghosting and smearing. And as for the 500Hz Alienware, well, it just hits that value as an average, meaning that overall, it is actually missing that mark some of the time. This new 540Hz though is an absolute weapon. This has the fastest response times that I've tested from a non-OLED display. 1.1 milliseconds when using the normal overdrive setting, and under 1 millisecond response times when using the esports mode. So yeah, we can meme all we want about a TN monitor launching at the end of 2023, but with results like that, there is clearly a reason. Now, in terms of what this actually looks like when targets are moving around on your screen and you're tracking them with your eyes, I use a moving camera test and some strafing targets from Overwatch 2 to simulate the amount of ghosting that you'll see on different monitors. And yeah, IPS 500Hz versus the new TN 540Hz, pretty crazy difference. On the Alienware, even the target's name becomes a complete solid blob of red, and there's just not much punch left to the image at all. This also shows one of the biggest advantages of TN versus IPS, and that's how fast the response times are specifically for those blacks and darker colors. While the average response time here is 0.9 milliseconds, they're actually closer to 0.3 to 0.5 when switching to those darker shades. So contrast and detail, it doesn't fade at all like IPS can during really fast.
I jumped on the 8K gaming hype train as hard as anyone, especially with that early look at NVIDIA's RTX 3090, the world's first 8K GPU. But have you ever realized you're riding a bandwagon that just doesn't make any sense? I mean, even now, the second I saw this liquid-cooled RTX 4090 from MSI, who sponsored this video, I thought, wow, with up to 2 times the performance, maybe we could do it even better this time. Except, I couldn't help noticing that while 8K gaming is still a highlighted feature on NVIDIA's product page, it's all the way hidden down at the bottom here. What's the deal with that? Is it that the 4090 is somehow worse for 8K than the last gen? Is it that they simply couldn't find an 8K monitor to validate it on? Or is it that 8K gaming is just really, really pointless, no matter how powerful your GPU is? The only way to know is to try it. To get our 8K groove on, the first thing we're gonna need is a tricked out gaming PC. And this one, courtesy of MSI, is an absolute doozy. At its GUI center is their RTX 4090 Supreme Liquid X. It is an absolute beast with integrated liquid cooling, 24 gigs of GDDR6X memory, over 16,000 CUDA cores, and much, much more. Expensive? Yes, but you've got an 8K display. You're not exactly hurting for cash, are you? For our testing, we'll be using the exact same unit that LG provided for our last 8K gaming video, their signature ZX 88-inch OLED that lives here in our employee lounge for after-hours Smash Bros tournaments. We're gonna start by recreating our 8K gaming experience from last time. Man, look at all those Ks.
There's 8 of them.
Got our HD. There's 8! Got our ray tracing, DLSS, pretty much everything set to Ultra Nightmare, and we're running on our RTX 3090 so we can get a baseline.
You just wait, it'll hang like this, but it'll go.
It will.
Yep. Hey. Oh, here it goes, here it goes. Hey, look at that.
Oh, yes.
Pretty smooth, eh?
Actually, yeah.
We're only getting like 55 FPS, but it's Ultra Nightmare for the most part.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that was not smooth.
It hitches.
Ooh, yeah, when I do like a quick 180, that is, yeah, not a lot of frames in between there. Can I chainsaw this? Nope.
You should be able to.
Well.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I died.
See you later. Cool. So that's pretty close to the experience you guys were getting last time.
Yeah, we wanted to retest the 3090 because since then we've gotten new CPUs, new drivers, and we wanted to see, well, hey, is the 3090 an even more viable 8K gaming card than it was before? Turns out, not really. About the same as before.
Yeah, it's pretty close across the board, actually.
Time to upgrade. All right, and see you later, 3090 Supreme. Nice knowing ya. Hello, 4090 Supreme. I gotta say, when it comes to these like 250, 350, 400 watt cards, liquid cooling just kind of starts to make sense, doesn't it? Like that is a much more reasonable sized GPU. Well, this is big, but that's not the point. The point is it doesn't look quite as ridiculous here. And the 4090 air-cooled version of the Supreme is even bigger than the old 3090. Can't build a ratchet 4090 gaming system without a ratcheting screwdriver. LTTstore.com. Hey, buddy. Yay, there we go.
Check out settings, make sure nothing changed.
Blah, blah, blah. Yep.
Exact same settings, cool. Oh, it says connecting this time. It's still froze.
It's still froze.
Yeah.
It's still froze.
Okay, hold on.
But we're getting 300 FPS right now.
In the loading screen.
Wow, it feels a lot more responsive.
Right?
Is that a solid 90 FPS?
Yeah. As high as 97, but our lows, our 1% lows down to like 80, 85.
Wow.
It hit 50, so I think it might stutter still, but like it's a much more rare. Like you stuttered like 3 times with the 3090, right? Oh, stutter.
Wait, I need ammo. That wasn't a bad stutter though.
No, it wasn't as bad, but like it would bug me.
Oh, this is totally playable though.
Yeah.
100% playable.
Yeah.
Man, if we were willing to settle for what we had last time, which is more like 60.
When you think of the company Sega, there's generally a few different categories of stuff that comes to mind. They've got great home console games, just look at your Sonics, your Nights into Dreams, your Super Monkey Balls, your Jet Set radios, all that good stuff. If not their games, you might know them best for their consoles like the Genesis and Dreamcast. And then there's the whole other side to Sega that most of us still know about, but maybe not as much. So Sega is a powerhouse of arcade machine manufacturing. They've made over 500 different games, and I can guarantee you that the closest arcade you can find, whether retro or modern, will be full of Sega machines. What ends up powering these machines is a wide range of different hardware. Sometimes they're bespoke boards that have no similarity to anything you'd find in a home console, and sometimes they're just bog standard GameCube motherboards, like in the Sega Triforce. Sega's never been known to shy away from just using off-the-shelf hardware like this in their arcade systems. After all, the Sega Naomi and Chihiro were nothing more than modified Dreamcasts and original Xboxes. I went down the Sega arcade machine rabbit hole a while ago because all of this bizarre hardware is so familiar yet extremely mysterious. There's just this whole world of gaming hardware out there that the general public is never even supposed to think about, let alone get their hands on this kind of stuff. Man, just talking about it, it's getting me hot and bothered. I gotta be careful. Triforce is about to make me act up. Wanna go to the zoo? Over the years, Sega has made all kinds of different platforms. The air script something in here that makes it so we can't boot this up anymore. So we're gonna pause from disassembling it, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing on. We'll see what happens, I guess. I have no idea what to expect. Into the dismay of... What the heck? Fan on the front panel. This is the front side right here. Sorry, this thing is enormous. So it intakes through what I believe is a 120mm fan. But I want to try and get this graphics card out. So let me get this brace off. You know, from the color